The year that we got married was the year that I was diagnosed.
Oh my goodness.
And it was also the year that I gave birth.
Wow.
To the last one. Preservation was literally survival mode. It was the bare minimum. It was, this is me at my lowest. Just trying. That's what it was. It was me just trying. When I didn't have much to give at all. God, I'm done with all of this. Like, everything that I'm doing is just not working. Everything that I do is just not working. So I'm done. You give me what you want me to work through. Many of us have been taught we don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
We keep it together. We keep it in-house. We keep it zip-locked. And it's just the family that knows about it. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. I don't care how you feel. I don't care how many times you rebuke it. You just need to know the signs, what to look out for and what to do if you notice something different.
Like, you're actually that girl. Love real women stories that help you grow? Hit subscribe and follow, and let's level up together. Now back to the episode. Welcome, I'm Paula Oyinko, and this is the Paula Oyinko Show, where our mission is to inspire women like you to be the best version of yourself at every stage of life. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by the beautiful, incredible Nellie Robert-Gbadebo. Nellie is a women's health advocate, a breast cancer survivor, wife, and a mother. And her journey, honestly, is just truly an incredible one. And I'm really excited to get into it today. But before we do that, Nellie, you're the first person to test our conversation cards, our upgraded conversation cards, shall I say.
I'm excited.
So I'm going to get you to pick a card, actually. Turn it over so you can't see them.
Oh my God, shall I look at it?
Yeah. Read it and then answer the question.
Ooh.
What is it?
What does it mean to you to thrive rather than survive?
Ooh. See, these
So
are
aligned.
questions.
So aligned.
Yes.
Interesting. For me to thrive means to show up despite what's happening around me. I think I have been through so many traumatic events in the last year alone. If I didn't show up the way I did, I would just be surviving, coasting. But I think my audacity, and I'm very tenacious, and the way that I show up means that I'm thriving.
I love that answer. You're incredible. But I always like to ask people, how would you describe yourself in your own words? So in your own words, who is Nellie?
Nellie is bold. And like I said, audacious. But I wasn't always. But if you, like you are now asking me to describe the Nellie of today, bold and audacious, for sure.
How did you become bold and audacious?
The minute I put my faith in God. And that looks different to so many people, right? So let me break it down a little bit. So for me, it was becoming confident in the way that Christ and I communicated, or more so the way that he communicates with me. I know how I communicate with him, but it's also being confident in his voice, because the minute I understood how he wants me to hear him, I knew that it's him, and then the doubt would leave. And for me, that's when I became bold. I'm like, you can't tell me what I'm supposed to do. And I've always been like that. Also, I'm the only child on my mum's side. And I live with my mum all my life. Well, raised by my mum all my life, obviously. So it meant that I am selfish a little bit, but it's selfish about me though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very selfish about myself because I love me.
Of course. Absolutely.
And when Christ tells me that he wants me to do something, I don't listen to other people. And I think for them, it can be, oh, she's a bit, like, who does she think she is and all that stuff. But that's just noise. I don't really listen to that. I'm just confident in who I am. And it took me forever to become confident. Even now, there are still days, but that's not even 10% anymore. Majority of the time, I am very confident in who I am.
I really like that because I'm
Mm.
all for confidence.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a turning point. I've mentioned it before when I turned 16, where I was basically like, I'm not going to care what people think about me. I'm just going to
Yeah.
be myself. And I
Yeah.
do feel like confidence comes when you just embrace who you are as a person as well. But what was your journey in terms of like understanding how you heard from God? What did that look like? How did you know, okay, this is how I hear from God?
So from young, I've always been a dreamer. And my auntie as well. She's that woman. God has really, when I think, if I had to have like a guardian angel on earth, it's her.
Oh,
Because from, I would say, early on in life till about late teens, she is who God would somehow give a dream to, and it would be very accurate. So I'll be going through something, dealing with it alone, internalizing everything, because again, the only child stuff. So just dealing with things by myself, and she would have a dream. She would either tell my mom or tell me about it, and I would be in tears because it's impossible. It's impossible.
yeah.
Like no one would have known that I'm going through this. Or she would do something and then she would tell me I did this because God gave me a dream that you needed XYZ, and I would be mind blown. But also she would have dreams and I was being naughty. And I'll be like, God, I'm going to have to snatch that away. But always very grateful. So that was just how I knew God to speak to people. And when I say that, I've always heard things like people have visions, dreams or whatever. But in terms of like in the flesh, that was how I saw it. And then I started to have the same early in my adult years, early 20s. I would have dreams, and then I'd wake up confused, but speak to the person that I had a dream about, and they would say to me, "Oh my God, like this happened to me. How did you know that?" And it would be with little things. So like with jobs, I would dream that my cousin got a job, and she'll say to me, like, I interviewed for that yesterday, and then a week later she'll say to me, "I got it." It would be little things like that, things that I would have no idea about. So then when, I got the confirmation, like, yeah, this is how God speaks to me through dreams, it meant that I can also intercede. So sometimes I'd have like horrific dreams and I would really hope that they're not real, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't know, because I think also with discernment, like there's some people you can't always go to people and say, "Oh, I've had this or I've had that." So like it allowed me to also intercede on the behalf of others, of loved ones. And as time went by, I became confident, like, yes, this is how God speaks to me. Also, it was sometimes Satan comes in and tries to fill your mind with doubt. So when that happened for me, I was like, okay, yeah, but I don't know. The dreams, they can't know. It can't be, right? I would, my thing, I would do things like I would move in silence, where it was just me and God. And I would say to him, I need a sign, and it can't be a dream, because I start to overthink things, that maybe it's just me subconsciously. I saw this, and then so I was like, I need it to be where it's just me and you. I'm not going to tell my husband, my friends, my family, nobody, and just let it come to me, so I know that it's just you that sent it. And an example of that was when I was going through radiotherapy. I was going to my oncology center, and I remember praying to God. I was like, God, am I doing the right thing? Should I be sharing my cancer journey in real time? Evil eye,
Yeah.
even though all that nonsense. But like, family would tell me that, like, maybe you should wait. My mom was one of those people. She was like, and I understand I'm her only child. She was like, maybe you should wait until, you're all healed, and then you can come back and tell the story. And then I kept telling I didn't say this to her, but I kept telling myself, like, no, you know what God revealed to you. You know the prayers that you prayed to God before all of this happened. You have to trust that what you're doing is what he wants for you. And I said to him, I was like, God, give me a sign, because right now I'm not feeling confident that this is what you want me to do. Am I moving off my own will? Am I doing this without your go ahead and permission? And whilst I was sitting down, waiting to be called in for my radiotherapy session, a black woman walks past me. She looks at me, we kind of smile. You know what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we see each other.
The black girl smile.
No, just that little smile, whatever. See her walk past, she walks, and then about 45 seconds later, she kind of backtracks and she comes back. And now I'm on my phone doing whatever. And she's like, oh, hey, sister. Like, and she was like, oh, yeah, who are you with? Like, you here with someone? I was like, no, I'm here by myself. And she was like, I work here and I've been seeing you coming in. And I've been thinking, like, what is this sister doing here? Like, she looks really young. And I was like, oh, no, I'm here for myself. Like, I'm getting treatment. I had breast cancer. No, I said to her, I had cancer. And she was shocked. She was like, cancer? Of what kind? And I said to her, breast cancer. And she said to me, I can't believe it. How old are you? Told her my age. And she said, so I work with Macmillan. And I am basically just trying to get more of our people, black people, to share their story and to show the importance of representation. And I would love to know, is that something that you do? And I'm like, yeah. I was silenced. Were you silent or were you silenced? I was silenced because I remember saying to God, you're going to give me a sign. If I don't get the sign, I'm going to put a pause and slow down on all of this until I hear from you. But I need a sign. And that was going on for like maybe within the week leading up to radiotherapy. And when I saw that woman and everything that she said aligned to what I was currently doing for touchy-feely and for myself on platforms, I was just like, yeah. I was like, yes. And I remember after that, she said, can you come see me in my office? I went to see her. We spoke. We had a moment because she used to be a woman of faith, no longer. But it was just so surreal. And you could feel the Holy Spirit working.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I said, God, I'm the flesh is weak. I'm gonna doubt you again in future, but I'm going to fight it.
Yeah.
When I feel these doubts creeping in, I'm going to fight it because you have been faithful and been consistent. Like, you have showed up every single time I needed you to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was that for me.
Nelly, like, I feel like we need to even rewind right back to the beginning. So you've mentioned your radiotherapy. You've mentioned kind of like some of the things that you've already experienced whilst you were, I guess, going through the treatment with your breast cancer. But let's go back to the very beginning. So you found a lump initially when you were pregnant with your second?
Yes, that's
so
right.
Could you share the journey, like what that was like and how you've gotten to where you are now?
So when I was pregnant with my second child, I found a lump in my breast and I was like, okay. After I gave birth, when the midwife comes in, I spoke to the midwife and I said, oh, there's a lump in my breast. And she said, are you breastfeeding? And I was like, I'm trying, but not quite. I'm struggling a little bit. And she said to me, so it's probably just a dried up milk duct. I said, okay, fairs. I chose to believe her. It's that ignorance.
Yeah.
I did not want to, I just didn't know. No.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even look further into that shenanigans. I left it there and I chose to trust the expert. Red flag. Don't ever do that. Always get a second opinion. And then I fell pregnant 2 months after that. So I have Irish twins. And after about 6 months into that pregnancy, I found another lump in my armpit. And I remember speaking to my husband and he was like, okay, this has got to stop. You need to speak to someone now because that was not there. For sure. You know that wasn't there. I know that wasn't there. Let's look into that. So I still didn't do it immediately, but when I went to my discharge appointment after I'd given birth to my third child, I said to them, "There's a lump." She referred me to the hospital. I got the biopsy done, and it was breast cancer. So when that came back as stage 1, grade 3 breast cancer, I was, yeah.
What was the feeling in that moment, especially given the fact that you were a new mom? Well, a new mum again.
To be fair, I took my whole family. I'm like, you guys are coming with me to this appointment. So I'm talking the newborn, the 1-year-old, because my son had just turned 1 a week before all of that. So took my eldest toddler and my husband. So we're walking in with all of our kids. Like, you have these 2 little toddlers, and you have me carrying the newborn. Sit down, and I remember I just kept it together. I kept it together because my kids were my strength, and I was very intentional about bringing them there because I wanted to keep it together. I didn't want to feel it.
Why?
I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I have been depressed before, several times actually, and I know how I dealt with it. But also, when I was depressed, severely depressed, that was prior to having children. So I could be selfish about it. I was in my own flat, lived by myself. I could stay in bed, do what I want to. I could order what I want. Like, I didn't need to be accountable for anyone apart from myself. But who gives a heck? I'm depressed, right? But when I have children now, I don't have that luxury. I have to get up. I still have to do things. I have to be a mother. And even though my husband, obviously, he was mummy and daddy because we had a newborn as well. And my family were incredibly supportive. And when I say my family, I mean even my in-laws as well. They're my family. They were amazing. It still hurt that I couldn't give 100. So I just wanted to give what I could. And that was me going into preserve mode, if you like, so that I can still show up the best I could during that time.
Yeah. What did preserve mode look like for you?
Preserve mode just looked like survival, it was not thriving. The thriving part came in, it was, when I felt like I could, but preservation was literally survival mode. It was the bare minimum. It was, this is me at my lowest, just trying. That's what it was. It was me just trying when I didn't have much to give at all.
I think that's okay because I mean, like, were you aware of the fact that it was okay, or did you feel like you should have been doing more?
I know, but it's always easier to say it's okay until it's you and until you are like the strong person. So I take pride in being able to do for me whatever I want, or whatever my heart's desire, or I just take pride in being independent as well. Not that I don't love being a baby girl, but I think aside from all of that stuff, I take a lot of pride in being able to do for me. And when I felt like I couldn't even do that, it takes away a sense of pride from you, and dignity a little bit.
Yeah.
Because your physical features change. You lose your hair, alopecia, all of that stuff. You gain weight because of the medication, all that stuff, So it does affect you in that way. Fun fact, my last child, obviously, when she was aware, around 5-6 months, she knew me to be bald. So anyone that came around her with hair, she would scream. That is so crazy. And it's only now just stopped where because my hair has grown back, but she hated hair. So all my family, when they came, like, if they wore wigs, they would have to take it off. And I couldn't believe that. I was like, oh my God, I've done that to you, baby. Yeah. I'm so sorry. But it's because obviously her mummy had
That's
no
what
hair.
she's used to.
Her mummy was short.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness.
It's so
The
funny.
innocence of children. Oh,
Best.
I really love it.
Yeah.
Before we like kind of get into the kids and stuff like that, I wanted to ask, because I feel like you've slightly touched on it.
Mhm.
How do you feel like your diagnosis impacted your sense of self, especially just having had basically 2 kids in the space of a year? And were you like newly married as well?
Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah. So like so many life-changing things.
So the year that we got married was the year that I was
Oh
diagnosed.
my goodness.
And it was also the year that I gave birth to the
Wow.
last one. Um, do you know what? I still felt worthy. I'm trying to think, right? But I can't even fake it. Like,
You don't
the
need to
the se-
fake it.
the
Tell the truth.
self-worth
Yeah.
was self-worthing.
Oh, I
Like,
love that.
I did not, insecurities, yes, but I still knew what I was worthy of. And also during that time, God was still being very loud. He was still communicating with me. I wasn't left alone to my own devices to get through this. He also sent new people into my life, and that on its own was just so beautiful, because incredible relationships blossomed out of that. So I was not, even though there were times where I felt alone in my feelings, physically, I was just never alone. And I know that if I really wanted to, I could speak to plenty of people. So I always felt worthy. I knew my worth. It's just sometimes when things start coming your way and start attacking you, i.e. losing your hair and gaining weight and not being physically present for your children or your marriage and all these little things, it starts to like dig a little bit. But I had to keep telling myself, these are feelings. Feelings aren't always true. They're real, but they're not true. Not all the time, but sometimes. And in my case, these feelings weren't true. I was a good mom. I was a good wife. I was a good what I needed to be. And I gave my best. And my husband did a really good job at reassuring me, that this is okay. It's okay to be in the state that I was in. And yeah, my self-worth stayed up though.
I really like that, because I do feel like obviously there are some people who it is a bit of a dip, but it seems like you were already at a place where prior to going into the diagnosis, you were quite confident as it was.
Not, to be fair, not always, because there was a time, I think from COVID to 2020 to 2022 was rough for me. Like, I hated those years. I'm sorry. I mean, 2 of my kids came, but apart from them, I hated those years. It was just years of uncertainty for me with work, everything. Like, people were pulling budgets. It was the worst years
Yeah.
ever. Oh my God. I hated 2020 to 2022. Oh my goodness. But in those times, it brought me to my knees, as in facing the carpet, tears, like, those ugly prayers.
Yeah.
It was that. And it was in those times I was like, God, you know what? Anything, give me anything. And I will never forget those prayers. And I remember saying to my husband, you've got to be careful what you pray for. Because I remember I was telling God, I was like, God, I'm done with all of this. Like, everything that I'm doing is just not working. Everything that I do is just not working. So I'm done. You give me what you want me to work through. And that was my prayer. I was like, whatever you want. I'm tired of just existing. I don't feel like I have a calling. I don't feel like I was like, "Ugh, I'm good at makeup, but this can't just be it." I was like, God, like, what more do you have for me? Like, what more do you have for me? And I know my strengths and I know that I'm creative, but what more do you have for me? What calling do you have for me in your kingdom? And not just gifts and all of these, like, what do you really want me to do? And my prayer then shifted from what do you really want me to do, to just give it to me. Whatever it is, I'll have it. I accept, open arms. God, it's you. So you won't send anything that would destroy me. So just whatever it is, I'm open. I'm a vessel. Use me, use me, use me. And then when that happened, that's why there was a sense of peace and stillness. There was peace and stillness because it was so fired up. It was fired up prayers, very dramatic, a lot of tears, snot, all that stuff. But then when that happened, it was like the dust had settled. And it during those times, I was really able to soak it in. I don't know, like, when I'm saying that, like what I'm envisioning is like being in the desert and just going crazy, like looking around, nothing. And as you're moving, the sand is being lifted. So like it's going in your eyes, you can't see nothing. And then it comes, whatever you need comes, it's right in front of you, and everything just settles. And it's like, okay, this is what I was looking for. And that was cancer a little bit. It didn't stop. It didn't stop any of the side effects. Like I still felt the side effects, all the horrific things, but there was a sense of peace for sure.
That's really powerful, man. I'm actually in awe of you, honestly. I try and keep it cool, but I can't keep it cool. Like, no, seriously, you're so incredible. And I love like because the way you share your story, you can really see the change and the passion in what you're saying. And the fact that you can say like, obviously cancer, it's not a positive thing, but that's part of the story. That's part of the journey. And that's kind of what has directed you to your calling in a way. Do you feel like this is your calling?
Absolutely. And I've learned to just be fluid in Christ, right? I say this every time. I'm working on it, and I feel like I'm getting better. So I like to be in control of everything. It if there's no control, if I have no control, I'm just filled with uncertainty, and I hate that feeling. It makes me very insecure. I like feeling secure. So I had to really just pull back and say, God, my security, the security that I give myself is a false sense of security. It's not real. Because if it was, things would work out my way, right? Like I wouldn't be on my knees bawling literally for you to save me, because everything would be okay. So I had to humble myself as well and really sacrifice my flesh and desires and say that no, like you say that you're secure and you need all of this, but it's just a false sense of security. You need to really submit yourself to the will of God. And that looks like being fluid. So having a plan, but leaving more than enough room for God to navigate and change things. And that's why it's really hard for me to talk about goals. It's really hard for me to say, yeah, like in the next, I hate the question, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? I hate it so much.
That one off. Oh, joking. No, I didn't have it now. You joking.
No, I hate it so much because I think, why are you trying to limit what God has planned for me? Don't do that. I don't play about that stuff. Like, I hate it because if I answer that question, I can tell you where I would like to be in 5 years, but I'm saying it loosely because I know the room that I'm leaving for God to do his things.
Yeah.
I know that I can only see as far as the eyes can go. I know that that's a flaw of mine. So therefore, naturally, I'm going to put myself in a box. So yeah, I don't even remember the question. I just started
floating. Yeah.
But that's what being fluid means for me, to just allow God to move.
I love it. And kind of going back to your journey, what was one thing during like just your cancer journey generally that happened that you didn't necessarily expect?
I didn't expect for there to be so many people feeling how I felt
Okay.
in terms of, where do I go for XYZ? And I didn't, but it's just one of those things, right? You don't think about it until you're there. So if you've never had an experience or an encounter with cancer, you're not going to think to yourself, why am I not seeing representation when it comes to people with cancer?
Yeah,
You're
that's
not even
true.
trying to look for that. You're not even trying to see that, because who wants to see what cancer looks like? It's heartbreaking. It's devastating, but it's very important and we need to see it. And that's one thing that made me like, wow, I wasn't prepared for that. Because when I went public with my story and shared it in real time, my DMs and my emails were flooded, hundreds of DMs and emails. And it was so many girls saying to me, "Oh my God, we're chemo twins." Like, because it was every 2 weeks, every fortnight I had chemo. And someone would say to me, "Oh my God, I had chemo a week before or after. How long have you got left? Oh, you've just got 3. I've got 4." It was a lot. And it was a lot of, it was community. It was
Yeah.
community at its finest. But then there were also really sad messages like, "Oh yeah, I'm also going through chemo." And I would ask them, "How are you coping? What drugs are you on?" They would say to me, but they would say, "I'm finding it really hard because I chose not to tell anyone."
Oh,
And I'm like,
gosh.
"What?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "So how did you not see like family?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, because everyone's busy anyway. So naturally you don't see your friends and family the way you used to." And they were like, "Yeah, so if I do come around, if someone comes around when I go out, I'll wear a wig, I'll do up my makeup, and they won't be able to tell." And I thought that was so sad.
It is.
I was like, that is so sad. It's so isolating. And that's when Touchy Feely was born. Because Touchy Feely is the platform for the people. It's to change and revolutionize the way we see cancer, but also the way we approach those with cancer. And it's to give them a platform and to spotlight their experience and their stories. Because the problem is, when I was looking for the representation, there weren't many, because many of us have been taught we don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
We keep it together, we keep it in house, we keep it ziplocked, and it's just the family that knows about it. So it brings about that sense of loneliness, and that I wanted Touchy Feely to disrupt that a bit, to bring the community and to just bring forth the lives of those affected by cancer.
Yeah. And just share a little bit about Touchy Feely. Like, what is it for anyone who's not come across it yet?
Yeah, so Touchy Feely is exactly that, a community hub, if you like, where we share stories of people that have been affected by cancer. And at first, this is what I mean by, in terms when I was saying being fluid. So before, it was just a platform for women with breast cancer. As we're working on things, I'm realizing that there are so many other women that have been impacted by other forms of cancer, ovarian, lymphoma, just so many different types of cancers. And now I'm like, actually, no, we're pivoting again and we're making a change. It's not just breast cancer. Oh, I've actually met some brothers that have had cancer. We're pivoting again. It's not just women with cancer. It's now men and women. And I just love the growth of Touchy Feely in that way. We're fostering a community, and we're not restricting it anymore. We're not restricting it anymore. Now, the direction that I see us heading in, and something that I would really like to work on, is exploring cancer in and around pregnancy, because that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
There's not enough representation when it comes to that. And also, the sister of someone that had cancer, the mother, the husband, the wife, the child, what are those impacts? Because we forget about the people that have to live with someone that has cancer, the guilt of not being able to be there for them the way that they may need them to be because they don't get it. So Touchy Feely is for the people. That I'm confident in saying. Everything else I'll say, I'll probably come back in a year and be like, oh no, actually we've pivoted again. But what I do know is touchy-feely is for the people, it's for our people.
This is really beautiful and really needed as
Yeah.
well, for real. Especially, and I mentioned earlier, I feel like there's a lot of young Black people
Yes.
who don't really talk about these things, who are going through these things. And representation is so important in every industry. Like, I think when
Absolutely.
you see somebody that you can relate to that's going through the same thing as you, it's just a completely different ball game at that point.
Yeah, because like, based on the stats and the numbers, more people are being diagnosed younger and younger. And even though Black people are less likely to be diagnosed, when they are, they're being diagnosed at later stages. And that's for many reasons. It being taboo, shame, feeling like they're not going to be heard by their GPs. I've had people literally go back and forth for months and weeks before they can get a referral, and it's now progressed to a later stage. So it is very needed. And again, 1 in 2 people will be affected by cancer at some point in their lives. So it's common. And now we're seeing that millennials and Gen Z are being affected. It's no longer a, over 50 white woman thing. It was, to be fair, it was never that, but
You
that's
see.
what you saw.
Yeah.
And now I'm really happy with the way that it's been it's been pushed in the faces of the people that need to see it the most. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. I don't care how you feel. I don't care how many times you rebuke it. You just need to know the signs, what to look out for and what to do if you notice something different.
No, definitely. And life post cancer for you, what does that look like?
Oh my goodness, it's beautiful because now it feels like I've been given a second chance at life. I can't imagine. I don't even know what I would have been doing now if that didn't happen. I don't know, because I think I would have been so unhappy and lost, just not feeling fulfilled, feeling like I'm not doing anything. So I really like the way God allowed this to happen, because he had bigger plans for me. And now my life is so fulfilled, because I remember when I had my kids, I got married, I was like, oh, is this what it is? I don't even feel that fulfilled. It's something that as a child, as a little girl, you look forward
You
to.
do, yeah.
And then when it happens, you see like all the negatives that come with it. And sometimes that overrides the positive, especially at the early stages. It takes a while for the fruit to like really show. So yeah, life after cancer, it feels like a blessing. It really, really does. It really, really does.
Wow. What advice would you give to anybody who is, maybe they've just recently been diagnosed, or they're going through it, or they're just post cancer?
The advice that I would give to someone that is having an encounter with cancer is grace. Whether it means that you need to extend grace to someone or you need to give yourself grace, just bask in it. Like, soak yourself in grace, because it's going to carry you through. And also find someone that you feel like you can speak to. You don't need to know the person. I've spoken to so many people I will probably never meet. They're in, like, I don't know, Chicago, Illinois or something,
Yeah.
but they said something to me that was so profound and helped carry me through treatment. So reach out. Like, people are willing to help you. This is something that I've also learned as well throughout this whole thing. People are willing to help you. You just need to reach out. And yeah, that would be my advice. Reach out and just soak yourself in God's grace.
Amazing. And I kind of want to go back a little bit, because I know we spoke about how you were in preserve mode. You literally just had 2 children as well. How did you juggle everything? And even now, actually, because I feel like we've spoken about this juggle when you're trying to build something, and it's like you're doing it by yourself. You've got 3 small children.
Yeah.
I've got 2 under 2, but you've got 3, and you had 3 under 3
under
at one point. Oh my
Girl.
goodness.
Yeah,
The thought of that. How do you juggle it all?
I don't. Okay. And let's just start there. I don't juggle it all.
Yeah.
My family helps me to juggle it all. I have an incredibly supportive husband. And it's gonna be a whole nother conversation for the other day for what that actually looks like. But I have a very supportive husband. And I'm going to say that allows me. And I know to some people they're gonna say, allow? What do you mean? Zip.
No, marriage. Okay,
Listen,
no, I'll let you say what you need to
the
say.
thing is, you need sometimes call it for what it is, because there are some people that are married to people that don't allow them to be who they need to be.
That's very true.
And so the word is allow. And I have a very supportive husband that allows me to do what God has called me to do, even though it means that sometimes I may not be present 100% of the times. We find something that works. Like, we need to find a middle ground. So it means that he's covered with what he needs to do. So whether it means that I'm with the kids, that he can get work done, and then once that's over, he takes over so I can get. You need to have someone that is willing to work with you, and someone that's also willing to be fluid, because it disrupts their lives as well. And at first I didn't understand that, because I was literally just thinking of me. But cancer disrupts the person and its surroundings. So being the person's spouse, you are directly going to be hit as well. So yeah, I have my husband. I have an incredible mother-in-law. I have a fantastic mum. I have amazing cousins. So we just all come together and make it work. I have a village. I literally have a village. I have a very good village as well. And that's why I can be here, there, everywhere, doing what I need to do, because I have that support system.
It's so important, honestly. It really, really is. And I think you're spot on about like a husband that allows you to step into what you're meant to do. Because when you're around people who, I guess, they don't necessarily believe in your vision, believe in what you're going to do. And in reality, marriage, it is a matter of give and take. Like, I feel like it's an institute that it is about submission from both parts. That's what I think. It's about service from both parts. So that's why I think allow it is the correct word in this situation, because when you're married, you have to think about each other. You can't just be like, okay, well,
Exactly.
I'm off to Dubai for 3 weeks now. No, you've got someone else. You're in service to him, and he's in service to you.
And there's two words that you use: service and submission. I think a lot of times people don't like hearing submission. And people won't like hearing that men have to also submit. But the thing is, my husband doesn't have to submit to me when it comes to this. He has to submit to God, because this is not something that I chose. I didn't choose to have cancer. I didn't choose this journey. I didn't choose this calling for myself. Had I known, I probably wouldn't have done that prayer out of fear, you know? So the submission part on his end is mainly to Christ, and then it trickles down on me, and then it makes things work. But if he doesn't submit to Christ, then yeah, it goes left.
It does.
Yeah, it does. It will always go left. It's very important for the man to be able to submit to Christ's plans for his wife. And it also gives him that extra grace and understanding, because he also knows that this is bigger than her.
Yeah.
It's ordained. So, yeah.
When your kids look back at this chapter of your life, what do you want them to see you as or know you as when they think of their mum?
Such a good question. To be fair, I don't know. Right? I don't know, but I just know that I want them to be proud. I don't know what I want them to think of me. I don't know the adjectives. I don't know, but I just want them to feel proud in knowing that I did my best. Just know that I did my best. And whatever loving words they want to tell me when the time comes. I'll have it.
They'll know. They will. And they'll know as well.
Yeah.
What's one thing you want women watching this to take away from our conversation today?
Ooh. Oh, there's so much I want to say, but if it's just one thing, it's really submit to the plans that God has for your life. Really submit. I'm not saying just like, okay, yeah, God, I submit. No, but to really submit. And that's going to make you so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. It's going to make you even sick. I was sick, but it may make you sick in a different way, but because it's literally going to kill your flesh in every way possible. And it's not going to feel nice, but just know that God has a divine plan for your life and just trust it.
I love it. Nelly, I feel like we need to book in a whole day.
Yeah,
have
we
like
need
a
to
marathon conversation. Because
talk.
seriously,
We have so much to talk about.
honestly,
We have marriage to talk about. We've got the kids,
children. Your story, like when you said you had was it your last child when you got married?
Yeah.
Like that was my year. So I actually met my husband in 2021, got married in 22, had my first child in 22, had my second child in 23.
Everything happened within
Such a short time
period of
frame. So I'm like, no, I think maybe book a little brunch, something like that.
Yes.
And go for a proper chin wag.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
We need that.
The time has gone off.
Sad.
How can the people support you? What projects are you working on as well?
Oh my goodness. This is my camera. Where's my camera?
one.
Amazing. I am working. I'm always working on something. Guys, like this noggin of mine, there's a lot going on there. You can support me at Vinty Nelly, Vinty Nellie on Instagram, and Touchy Feely is We Get Touchy Feely, all one word. That's where you can support the platform. And yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, and how can they follow you? But you've said that already.
Follow me all on Instagram,
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Okay, them opportunities.
Get into that personal
Touchy-feely.
branding bag.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, that really is a wrap. Oh, let me give you. I feel like this is our version of a hug kit.
I love that for us.
Honestly. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.